Joining me now is award-winning investigative journalist Mariana van Zeller. Her Nat Geo show, Trafficked, dives into the complex and dangerous global underworld. Mariana, it's so nice to see you.
So nice to see you too, Juju.
Safe and sound. I always feel like you're so intrepid. You are our girl crush on the show, friend of Nightline. But let's talk about Trafficked, because it explores the sort of dark corners of the world, everything from assassins to narco-terrorists to those who traffic in body parts. Mm-hmm. So as a journalist, what keeps drawing you to these dark corners?
Mm-hmm. You know, I've always been fascinated by sort of, I think as a journalist, you'd understand that when they tell you that there's a dark, secretive world, a part of the world that you can never get into, that's where you want to go, right?
Sure.
So I've always been super attracted and fascinated by these worlds. But also, I think most people don't know that these black and gray markets actually make up for almost half of the world's economy, and yet we know so little about them. And so from the beginning, I think I've started doing this, covering black markets for over 20 years now. And yeah, it's always drawn me.
And this is season 4 of Trafficked, and episode 1 is about assassins. So let's take a quick clip about a character you met in Los Angeles.
You guys better block this out.
By covering you.
Everything changing voice too.
We're changing your voice.
So it's the only chance you guys got. I can easily take all of you out right now.
That made me flinch, I have to say.
Yeah.
How do you hold your composure in a situation like that? And how do you get these literally killers and outliers to trust you?
Yeah, this was not an easy interview. I think I always try to see the humanity in people, and this was one of the situations where that wasn't easy. I was told beforehand, actually, before we went to meet him, that he was a very difficult character, that he was perhaps bipolar, and that I had to be very careful with him. And immediately off the bat, he shows me his gun and tells me, you have to be careful with what you ask me, and if I'm not happy, this could end badly. So that's not something that you like to hear at the beginning of the interview. But usually, I think one of the things that we always try to do with the show is try to find the humanity in people, even the operators of the black markets. You know, assassins is a little more difficult, but traffickers and scammers, it's all about creating that human connection and understanding their motivation.
And part of the reason I admire you so much as a journalist is because you give that context. Mm-hmm. You talk about the commonalities of poverty and police corruption and the lack of accountability that this assassin, for example, that you talked to in South Africa, feels that he has no choice.
Absolutely. You know, I think at the end of the day, we tend to think of the world as good and bad, black and white, but it's much more complicated than that. And I think Trafficked is a great conversation starter for all of us about the opportunities we've been given and what would we do if we didn't have these opportunities, which is what I find in most of these black market operators.
And you connect with that assassin's humanity by saying he reveals to you that he's an orphan.
Yes, that's the other assassin we interviewed in South Africa. It was fascinating. We spent an hour and a half, more or less, talking, and at the end he came up to me and he told me this was a big therapeutical session for me, because I'd never thought about these issues. His parents were killed when he was young by an assassin. He eventually started working in the drug trade, became an assassin himself, and I was asking him, he said he would not touch women and children, just men. He only kills men. And I asked him, but do you understand that you're doing to other women and children what was done to you as a young kid? And this breeds this cycle of violence. And he said, I'd never actually thought it that way.
That was a jaw-dropping moment. Yeah. And you could tell that he was thinking in real time as you were having this conversation.
He was.
And yet your humanity is brought about by the fact that you also talk to the victims of these assassins and that you talk about the depth of their pain as well.
Oh, absolutely. You know, one of the stories we did this season was actually about black market medications. And when you look at how the system is broken, the healthcare system in the United States is broken, and you have 20 million Americans that cannot afford their prescriptions, so they have to go either down to Mexico or to online pharmacies and buy these really dangerous prescription pills that a lot of times are counterfeit and have toxic ingredients in them, and they have no idea. And they're doing this because our system is broken. So I think that a lot of times we tend to look at the black market operators and the criminals and the smugglers and even the immigrants as the people that are creating the problems in our country. But the ones that we really have to hold accountable are the people in power, the people that have the possibility of making these decisions.
You mentioned the prescription pills, but what else do you cover in this season? What else can we look forward to?
We have an episode on sextortion, which is a new sort of growing crime that's affecting a lot of our teens. And it's really sad because it's leading a lot of teens to suicide. It's a horrific crime. We have an episode on apes, apes that are getting closer and closer to the brink of extinction. And so we looked at chimpanzees and gorillas and how they are being trafficked so that we could take selfies at roadside zoos. It's very, very sad. And then we have another amazing episode about this drug mule scam, basically, where I answered a direct message from a woman in Minnesota who told me that her father was in prison in Mozambique in Africa, and that she absolutely knew that he was innocent. So we ended up actually confronting the scammer that put him in prison and sort of proving that, in fact, he was innocent.
Well, there's a reason why your series and all of your reporting is so critically acclaimed and highly regarded. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me, Juju.
Always great to see you, Mariana. And the first episode of season 4, Assassins, is available on Hulu. Episodes drop every Wednesday on National Geographic.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.